Take it away. Thanks, Neil. So Harry and I will be talking about Renewable Blue, but also in general about east side improvements that we've either made or are planning to make. And I apologize for making you turn around and look at this, but a lot of this stuff is good visual, so it's worth looking at. One worth mentioning is in the service change that just happened this September, although unfortunately there certainly were some trims around the region, there also was some ability to use some efficiency in rethinking how exactly things were configured. Too much detail to go into, but there were actually some benefits on the east side, so that the Line 9 Powell, which will be having those new buses operating on it, also is operating more frequently all the way to Gresham instead of ending at 98th, which is what half the buses used to do. So for all intents and purposes, though we're still wringing efficiency out of all of this, it's actually a service upgrade for that stretch of Powell. We also were able to, in that same service change, link two lines that were serving two halves of 181st and 182nd, and actually turn that into a single line so that people don't have to be forcing a transfer there and connect, make one of those north-south connections that we know there is so much interest in East Metro, but we haven't been able to serve as well yet. So this is one sort of incremental move towards that. We've also done a number of improvements that Councilor Craddock and others have mentioned. The Civic Drive improvement, the Rockwood Station, here's the before, and then the after, of course, with the all-new station location and security enhancements and the art portion of it. Really focusing in then on Renew the Blue, which is taking what is now a 26-year-old light rail line and refurbishing those items that really need it, both in terms of attractiveness, but really also focusing in on safety and comfort to ensure that what we now know about how to design and how to light and how to make sure that stations are visible and comfortable can really start to happen in this case. So little things that are already out there are things like changing the lighting fixtures from something that was kind of beaming light all over the place to something that actually puts it down on the platform so that people can see where they are and they can see what's going on the platform. And also putting in, it's a little bit hard to see on this small picture, but putting in some guide rails and ways to help channel people to the safest place to cross the tracks, the safest way to move about the station in a way that really makes it more comfortable to be there and safer for both our operations and for our passengers. And so the opportunity for the Renew the Blue efforts will really be a lot of that whole range of everything from improving shelters, making it more attractive, making it more comfortable, at least in some cases, if not in all, doing things like moving the ticket machines so that we have a truly fair paved zone for the entire station, but also opening up sight lines and increasing visibility to make that as safe as possible. So here's a great example. This is what it looked like in 1986. This was probably the best thinking of what we needed to do. Create a real shelter, create a place, create some place that you could sort of shelter in while you were waiting probably a long time perhaps, or not really waiting for something you weren't quite used to. And now just a relatively simple fix, but very much more open, very much more comforting. There's no way somebody can hide in there. Here at Gresham Central, again, a pretty significant change in terms of the openness and the visibility of that, as well as guiding our passengers to the safest places to be. And here, a better shot of that to get a sense of how we're helping people understand where it's safe to cross and encouraging good and safe behavior.
I wanted to point out one feature that you notice with the previous slide. With the channelization, not only did we provide a pathway for the pedestrians, but what we also did here is we made a security improvement, and that was by delineating the platform, and we said, that if you are on the side where the shelter is, that is a paid zone. So from a law enforcement standpoint, it made it much easier to enforce that sort of requirement and discourage loitering in the station area. Unfortunately, we couldn't cordon off the area to the left of the railing because that is a public sidewalk. So we wanted to make it clear where the station was as opposed to the public sidewalk as well. And in this area, it's again, it's carrying out that theme of delineating the station from the public sidewalk area and then reinforcing the pedestrian pathways to a safe crossing location. This is a slide that depicts lighting and how we've improved the lighting. So if you look at the lighting slide that's to the left, that was what our previous thinking was just provide enough lighting so that people felt relatively comfortable, but we've now learned that that's really not the right approach. People do want something that is relatively well lit, and so that there is a increased perceived sense of safety. It also enhances visibility. With that, there is less likely to be some sort of commission of crime because people can see someone approaching them, and or those that pass by can see the area much better as well.
And the thing to pay attention there also that I learned from Harry is, you know, on the left, that shelter is very brightly lit, but on the right, it's uniform throughout the entire area, and it's both the brightness and that uniformity that's important for that sense of comfort. And so those are the kinds of things we're going to be paying attention to as we're moving forward, trying to go basically priority by priority in terms of focusing on the highest level safety issues first, which are lighting and those lines of sight and channelization, but also looking at how we can make changes to do more of those fair paid zones, like Harry pointed out, to be able to change those stations to places that feel more controlled and are more visible and more comfortable. I just wanted to mention two other things. One is our East Side Service Enhancements Plan, which we'll be conducting starting next year, which is really about taking a look at our entire bus network on the East Side. And it's been a little while since we've really sort of taken the lid off of that and said, is it meeting the needs? Are we able to make any changes now or in the future that could better meet the needs? And so we'll be doing that starting in 2013, talking to stakeholders, talking to neighborhood groups, talking to business groups, talking to the various jurisdictions around the East Metro area to understand what kinds of changes and opportunities there are and what we should consider in terms of near-term adjustments and improvements, as well as long-term growth. And then the last one that Councilor Craddock mentioned was the PAL division bus rapid transit concept of looking at PAL and or division as corridors for bus rapid transit improvements, which increases the reliability, decreases the travel time, and improves the visibility of the service along the corridor. And there's some great places to think about linking, including some of the ones that are pointed out here, between PSU and South Waterfront and OHSU, PCC's new campus at Southeast 82nd Division, Mount Hood Community College here, as well as downtown Gresham and perhaps Gresham Vista, the development area there. So all of these, both the Service Enhancements Plan and the BRT, are efforts that we expect to get underway during 2013. The Renew the Blue is a multi-year ongoing construction and partnership project. The other thing that I don't have a slide for, but I should mention, is that partnership about access to transit, which I presented to you before, is really important too. All of the cities in the East Metro area have made some real commitments to improving sidewalks, improving access, and those help people get to our services as well, and that's a really important partnership. So Jerry wanted to add anything else?
We continue to make security improvements. You heard earlier about some of the concerns with Gresham Central. We're attempting to address those issues, but there's a number of challenges, and if you'd like more information about that, we can provide that in the sometime in the future.
We have any comments or questions for